Welcome back to Perfect EDM, where we dive deep into the world of electronic dance music. Today we're spotlighting one of the most influential, innovative, and creative duos in the scene, Zeds Dead. Known for their genre-blending approach to EDM, let's take a look at how the boys went from underground to one of the top tastemakers in electronic dance music today. Zeds Dead, consisting of Toronto natives DC, Dylan Mamid, and Hooks, Zachary Raproven, met in the early 2000s in Toronto, Canada. Hook's love for graffiti art is what led him to cross paths with DC, Hook's cousin, who was DC's next-door neighbor, introduced them in 2004, and the rest is history. They bonded over their mutual love for hip-hop, and both had recently started producing music. In 2006, they joined together to form the EDM duo Mass Productions. They dropped one album under that name titled Fresh Beats. Their very early music was heavily influenced by 90s hip-hop, and they got a little traction in the local Toronto scene as Mass Productions. But as they experimented more with dance music, they shelved Mass Productions, and Zeds Dead was then born in 2009. The name Zeds Dead references a popular scene in the movie Pulp Fiction, where Bruce Willis is riding on a chopper, but it also references their initials, Z for Zach and D for Dylan. That same year that they formed Zeds Dead, they released their first track as Zeds Dead. Their earlier releases were a number of remixes, but they also released their first original Zeds Dead track that same year, Journey of a Lifetime. They played their first show as Zeds Dead in the summer of 2009 and started gaining a lot more popularity, both locally and online. They founded a local weekly party called Bass Mentality, which started in the basement of a Toronto bar. Bass Mentality grew and expanded for years, going on to host artists like Skrillex, Nero, and Borgor before they became huge names in the electronic dance music scene. In 2010, Zeds Dead released a remix of Eyes on Fire, which would become their breakout track. Eyes on Fire went on to chart on iTunes and helped further fuel their popularity. They went on to their first North American tour that same year and have not stopped since. In 2012, Zeds Dead released their EP Adrenaline, which received widespread acclaim. The EP did what Zeds Dead does best. It featured a mix of heavy dubstep, melodic elements, and a heavy hip-hop influence that captivated early Zeds Dead fans. To this day, the 4 tracks on that EP, In the Beginning, Adrenaline, Hit Me, and Oh No, are played in Zeds Dead sets. That same year, they released an EP on Mad Decent called Victor, which featured 7 tracks with Omar Lynx. That same year, they dropped another EP with rapper Omar Lynx titled Living Dead. By 2014, Zeds Dead was ready to drop their debut album, Somewhere Else. It's a 7-track album that features collaborations with Memorex, Big Gigantic, Omar Lynx, Dirty Phonics, and Perry Farrell, the namesake for Perry's stage at Chicago's Lollapalooza, a festival that Zeds Dead has headlined multiple times. Somewhere Else charted on Billboard 200. Just after their album dropped, they headlined their first Dead Rocks at Red Rocks Amphitheater in Colorado. Fast forward 10 years later to 2024, Zeds Dead just had their 10-year anniversary of their Dead Rock show, where they put on 2 nights of unique sets at Red Rocks, followed by a backyard jamboree in Denver and an after-party at Denver's Mission Ballroom. Now, Zeds Dead takes over the city of Denver every July. A year later, they started their 2-night stand tour. Their tour took place in historic venues across North America, which saw the boys play 2-night runs in cities across the US, with portions of the profits going to charity. At this point, they had been making music together for over a decade, but 2016 was about to become a pivotal year in their careers. Deadbeats, their own record label, was born in 2016. The label has grown to become one of the most revered and covered bass music labels in the scene, with releases from artists like Subtronics, Grizz, Death Pact, Blanky, and Mersive. As Zeds Dead rose in popularity, experimenting with new sounds, collaborating with new artists, and growing their label, they dropped their iconic 2016 album, Northern Lights, which truly showcases their ease with cross-genre experimentation. While Zeds Dead is prominently a dubstep artist, Northern Lights features elements beyond dubstep, with future bass, house, rock, and trap elements. Tracks like Stardust and Lost You showcase smooth, future bass elements. Me No Care and DNA both have heavy trap influences. Northern Lights featured collaborations with artists like Twin Shadow, Diplo, Rivers Cuomo, Nightmare, and Gigi McGree. While some critics view Northern Lights as an out-of-character for Zeds Dead, the album perfectly showcases what they do best. It perfectly puts their full range of talent on display, incorporating a wide array of genres together into one work of art, taking listeners on a journey of a lifetime from the first track to the last. After the release of Northern Lights, Zeds Dead dropped heavy-hitting singles like Where the Wild Things Are with Millennium, Blood Brother, Samurai with Ganja White Knight, Magnets with Snails, Lift You Up with Delta Heavy, Rescue with Dion Timmer, Stars Tonight with Drulu, Bumpy Teeth with Subtronics, and Lights Go Down and Shake, both with Jaws. All of these singles are staples in Zeds Dead sets today. Fast forward a little bit, they've collaborated with Peekaboo on Power, with Rez and Into the Abyss, with MKLA on Alive, and In My Head, Subtronics on Gassed Up, Grizz on Ecstasy of a Soul, Omar Lynx again on Mr. Blue, Blanky on The Machines, Nightmare on Shady Intentions, frequent collaborator Jaws on SOS, and Hamdi on Criminal. True masters of genre bending, they also put out a heavily techno-influenced track called Aftertaste, their house track and fan favorite 139, a release on Night Bass, and drum and bass collaboration with Reaper, Backbus. Among all these releases they put out in their 2021 album Catching Z's, which came with the release of their new label Altered States focuses on dreamy, down-tempo beats, and the Catching Z's album features 13 ethereal down-tempo tracks that are unlike any other work that Zeds Dead has released thus far. Today, Zeds Dead is a staple on the festival circuit, headlining festivals like Electric Forest, Lost Lands, Lollapalooza, EDC Las Vegas, Hard Summer, and Ultra Miami. They're known for their multi-day runs in cities like Chicago and Denver, where they seemingly take over the entire city with shows and after-parties and events. To fans in the scene, Zeds Dead events have become staples, multi-day stops in Chicago, Dead Rocks in July, after-parties that surely can't be missed. Their Deadbeats label has become a household name for bass heads everywhere, alongside their down-tempo label Altered States, and they balance all of that with their radio show on SoundCloud, Deadbeats Radio. They've collaborated with the best of the best and managed to stay truly artistic, unique in the bass music scene, always experimenting the way they want to experiment and playing the music they want to play. One thing is always certain, no Zeds Dead set is the same, and fans can always count on Zeds Dead to take them through an artistic journey through their lens at every single show.